You text back too fast, you know you do. The message lands, and before you even finish reading it, your thumbs are already moving. You check their location. You replay the conversation looking for proof. Proof they still care. Proof they haven't left yet. You need to hear it again and again. And the thing that nobody warns you about is this. The harder you grip, the more they pull away. Every desperate reach pushes the very thing you want further from your hands. But here is what most people miss. Clinginess is not about love. It never was. There was a man, successful by every measure the world uses. He came from a wealthy, respected family. He had a wife who genuinely liked him, a sharp mind, real talent. He held a leading position in a large company. From the outside, there was nothing wrong, no tragedy, no catastrophe, no obvious wound, and yet he could not stop drinking. Not socially, not casually, desperately. The kind of drinking that turns a Tuesday into a blur, because being sober means being present, and being present means feeling something he could not name. The company belonged to his mother, and that detail changes everything, because he was not just employed, he was enclosed. Every decision filtered through her. Every success quietly belonged to her empire. He should have left years ago. Everyone around him could see it, but he could not summon the will to walk away from the position, the comfort, the warmth of a life where someone else still held the edges together. So instead, he drank. He numbed the dependence he could not face. He poured whiskey over a fire he refused to look at directly. And underneath all of it was something most people carry but few ever examine. The part of you that gets dressed in the morning and tries to hold it all together. The conscious I that makes plans and worries about how things look. That part of him had never actually left home. It was still orbiting her, still tethered. This is what clinginess actually is beneath the surface. It is not a personality flaw. It is a wound that has taken on a life of its own, a tangle of old feelings and memories so tightly knotted that it fires off before you even realize something hit you. And it does not always look like texting too fast. Sometimes it looks like a corner office and a bottle of bourbon. The question is where that knot begins, and what ancient cord keeps it pulled so tight. That cord does not begin where most people think it does. It does not start with your mother. It starts before her voice, before her face, before you ever opened your eyes and learned who was holding you. There is a pattern older than any single childhood, a blueprint every human being is born carrying, something wired so deep it shapes how you feel before you ever have a chance to think. And this pattern, this archetype, is not something you learned. It is something you arrived with. Think about what a newborn already knows how to do. It roots toward warmth. It grips a finger with terrifying strength. It screams when the body holding it shifts away. No one teaches a baby to cling. The instruction is already written, and it is written not just in the muscles and the reflexes, but somewhere far deeper, in the enormous territory inside you that operates beneath your awareness, the part of your inner world you cannot see, but that runs most of the show. Call it the unconscious. It is the engine room below the deck of every thought you have ever had, and it was running long before you developed the ability to say the word mother. This is the part that most conversations about clinginess never reach. Everyone wants to talk about attachment styles. Everyone wants to trace the wound back to a specific moment. The time she dropped you off and didn't look back, the time he chose work over your school play, the time you reached and no one was there. And those moments matter. They matter enormously. But they land so hard because they fall on ground that was already shaped to receive them. There is an ancient basement beneath every person's awareness, an inherited layer where patterns of mothering and belonging have been accumulating since the species began. This is the collective unconscious. You did not build it. You were born standing on it. And inside that basement lives an image of mother so vast and so charged that no actual woman could ever fill it completely. This is what that man with the corner office and the bourbon was caught inside. Not his real mother, though she was powerful enough. What held him was not the woman who signed his paychecks. It was the invisible tether between him and the original source of warmth. Not his actual mother, but the emotional charge she left behind. A gravitational pull so strong it bends every relationship you enter. That is the mother complex. and it does not care how old you are. It does not care how many promotions you have earned or how far you have moved from your childhood home. You can cross an ocean and the tether stretches. You can build an empire and the complex simply nests inside it. A child clings not just to the specific woman who feeds it, but to that ancient blueprint of what mother means. Safety, warmth, the feeling that someone else is holding the edges of the world together so you do not have to. And when the personal mother fails, when she is absent or cold or overbearing or simply human, the blueprint does not retire. It demands fulfillment. It follows the person into every adult relationship like a debt collector who never loses the address. And here is where it turns into something no one wants to look at. When a parent is overprotective, when the warmth never withdraws, when the holding never loosens, something happens between parent and child that operates like a secret agreement neither of them signed consciously. The parent needs to be needed. The child needs to be held. And the two lock into a conspiracy of dependence so quiet and so comfortable that it can look from the outside like love. The mother who calls 3 times a day is not just anxious. She is feeding something in herself. The adult child who cannot make a decision without checking in first is not just respectful. He is still drawing warmth from a fire he was supposed to have left behind a long time ago. That version of the mother you carry inside, the one built from every bedtime, every scolding, every moment of comfort, and every moment of withdrawal, it does not stay filed away in memory. It walks into the room every time you meet someone who might take care of you. It sits at the table on every first date. It whispers that this person could finally be the one who makes the ache stop. And it lends a glow to people who have not earned it. A superhuman shimmer that belongs not to the person across from you, but to that enormous image you have been carrying since before you could speak. The blueprint does not fade when you become aware of it. Naming it is only the first step. Because the real problem is not that the pattern exists. It is what happens when it starts running your life without your permission, pulling you backward into rooms you thought you had already left. There are people walking around in adult bodies, holding down jobs, paying rent, raising children, who are still emotionally living in a house they left decades ago. Not metaphorically, or rather, not only metaphorically. The patterns they learned at 5, at 7, at 9 are still firing beneath every interaction they have. The way they respond to conflict, the way they reach for reassurance, the way they collapse when someone pulls away, none of it was designed for the life they are living now. It was designed for a kitchen table where a parent sat, for a hallway where footsteps meant either comfort or danger. And because these patterns were laid down before language could describe them, they operate in silence. No announcement, no warning label, just the sudden tightness in the chest when a partner does not text back, and the absolute certainty, felt in the bones, not reasoned through the mind, that something terrible is about to happen. This is where transference begins its quiet work. You meet someone new, a lover, a friend, a boss, a therapist, and before you have exchanged 10 sentences, your inner world has already dressed them in your parents' clothes. It has already assigned them the role. It expects from them the same warmth or the same disappointment, the same rescuing or the same disappearing act, without you ever realizing the costume change happened. The new person is standing there in their own skin, with their own history, and you are not actually seeing them. You are seeing the version of them you carry inside, the old figure projected forward like a transparency laid over a living face. And the cruelest part is that it feels like recognition. It feels like knowing someone. It feels like finally coming home. When really it is the oldest trap there is. The past reaching forward to claim the present. For someone caught in a mother complex, this kind of transference is not an inconvenience. It is an entire way of life. Consider the person who enters therapy and within weeks begins to feel that the therapist is the only one who truly understands them. The room becomes the safest place. The hour becomes the only hour that matters. And there is a double advantage operating beneath the surface, because the therapist offers the warmth and attention of a parental figure, but without the suffocating closeness of the actual family. It is the mother without the kitchen, the father without the front door, The patient gets to relive the childhood bond in a sanitized environment, and for a while this feels like progress. But watch what happens when the arrangement is threatened. A missed session, a vacation, a suggestion that perhaps the sessions should become less frequent. The response is not mild disappointment. It is panic. It is the fierce, white-knuckled clinging of someone who believes they are about to be abandoned on a doorstep. Because the old pattern has been activated, and the old pattern does not know the difference between a rescheduled appointment and the end of the world. This is regression, the slide backward into an earlier version of yourself. Not a failure exactly, but a retreat. The way a person facing a wall they cannot climb will turn around and walk back to the last place that felt safe, even if that place was a child's room they outgrew years ago. And here the vicious circle begins to turn, because the more someone shrinks from reality, from the demands of adult life, from the risk of real intimacy, from the terror of standing alone, the more fear accumulates. And the more fear accumulates, the more urgent the need for the mother figure becomes. The retreat creates the very danger it was trying to escape. Each step backward makes the next step forward harder. Each refusal to face the world makes the world grow larger and more threatening in the imagination, until reality itself becomes the monster. And then something shifts in the image. The mother, or rather, the version of her carried inside your inner world, is no longer the warm harbor. She has become the pursuer. What started as a refuge turns devouring. The comfort becomes a cage. The safety becomes a swallowing. This is projection working at its deepest level, pinning your own inner material onto someone else's face, seeing your fear, your longing, your paralysis on the figure of the mother as though it belonged to her, when in fact it was yours all along. The person is not being chased by their mother. They are being chased by their own unlived life, wearing her face. And this is the knot that no amount of understanding by itself can untie. Because knowing you are caught is not the same as being free. Somewhere, in the middle of ordinary life, a man will have to choose between the loyalty that feels like love and the departure that feels like betrayal. And in that moment, everything depends on whether he can tell the difference between the woman standing in front of him and the ghost she has been made to carry. Consider a man named Henry. He is an engineer, good at his work, respected, steady. He has been engaged to a woman for what feels like an eternity, and he cannot bring himself to marry her. Not because he does not love her, but because every time he gets close to the commitment, something pulls him back. A voice, not quite his own, whispering that she is not good enough, not refined enough, not quite the image of what a wife should be. That voice belongs to his mother, or rather, to the version of her he carries inside, the one who set the standard so impossibly high that no living woman could ever reach it. His mother did not do this on purpose. She did not sit him down and say, "No one will ever be worthy of you." She did it by being everything to him, by being the warmth, the safety, the approval, the entire emotional world he grew up inside. And now that world has become a cage he cannot see the bars of. Henry had a dream. In the dream, his unlived life appeared to him as a disease, a terminal one, something growing inside him, feeding on every road not taken, every version of himself he had refused to become. And the dream told him plainly, this is what kills you. Not danger, not risk, not the unknown, the unlived life, the safe life. The life where you stay exactly where you are because leaving feels like dying, when in truth staying is the slower death. That dream is not just Henry's. It belongs to anyone who has ever felt the gap between the life they are living and the life that is asking to be lived. And the gap does not stay polite. It does not wait quietly. It becomes anxiety, restlessness, sudden rages over nothing, a deadness behind the eyes that no vacation or promotion can touch. The unlived life is patient, but it is not merciful. Now consider another man. No name this time, just a story. He was an alcoholic, deep in it, and he worked for his mother's company. Every morning he reported to a building that had her name on it, answered to people she had hired, earned money that flowed from her decisions. He was drowning, and the ocean was made of her. His therapist did something unusual. Instead of years of careful talk, he arranged for the man to be discharged from his mother's company. Cut off, forced out, and what happened was not collapse. It was the opposite. Separated from that invisible orbit, the man built a career on his own terms. A brilliant one. The drinking stopped, not because someone explained the complex to him, but because the cord was actually cut. Sometimes understanding is not enough. Sometimes you have to physically walk through the door. This is what the ancient pattern of departure and return that lives in every story about growing up actually looks like in ordinary life. It is not a knight riding out to slay something. It is a 34-year-old man telling his mother he is not coming to Sunday dinner anymore. It is a woman choosing an apartment across the city instead of the one 3 blocks from her parents. It is the moment you hang up the phone and sit in the silence and do not call back, even though every nerve in your body is screaming that you have just done something unforgivable. The hero archetype is not about bravery on a battlefield. It is about the inner moment when you choose the unknown over the familiar cage. And the thing that makes it so hard is that it does not feel heroic. It feels like betrayal. It feels selfish. The ego, the lit-up room of your awareness, that small, bright space where you know what you are thinking and feeling, has to separate itself from the parental archetypes that shaped it. And those archetypes do not let go quietly. They flood you with guilt. They send you dreams of your mother crying. They make every step away feel like violence. But here is what no one tells you about that departure. You are not rejecting your parents. You are rejecting the version of yourself that cannot exist without them. You are not killing love. You are finding out whether something in you can survive the open air, the desert, the silence, the terrifying freedom of no one telling you who to be. And that desert is not empty. That is the thing no one tells you. When you finally stop clinging, when you release your grip on the person or the idea or the comfort that has been holding your world together, you expect annihilation. You expect the ground to open up and swallow you whole. But what actually happens is stranger than that. You discover space, and in that space, something breathes that has never breathed before. There is an old image of the hermit standing alone in a vast and quiet land, not because he hates people, not because he has been abandoned, but because he chose to find out what he is when no one is watching. He is not running from love. He has already loved deeply. He has already been held and held on. But something in him grew larger than the holding, and he had to step out into the open to see what that something was. This is the hard truth that no one wants to hear. Love can become a sheath. It can carry life inside it for years, nurture it, protect it, keep it warm in the dark. But there comes a moment when life has grown too large for that container. And if love refuses to open, it does not protect life anymore. It suffocates it. The mother who cannot release her child does not save the child. She buries the child alive inside her own need. And the child who cannot release the mother does the same thing to himself. Life stands above love. Not because love does not matter, but because love was always in service to something larger. Love was the fire that kept you warm long enough to grow legs, to grow lungs, to grow the strange and terrifying capacity to walk out alone into a world that does not owe you comfort. And here is where it gets quiet. Because the person who has done this, who has let go not out of cruelty but out of necessity, who has walked into their own desert and found that they can breathe there, that person discovers something they cannot easily put into words. They discover that the love they were clinging to was not the deepest love available to them. There is something underneath it. Something that does not grab, something that does not need to hold on because it is not afraid of losing. What would you be if you were not afraid of losing?